Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Young ESPGHAN webinar. So today we are going to talk about how to review a paper and what do editors really want. And this is our second webinar about this theme. And we are going to have together with us Dr. Nathalie Rock, who is going to talk about this very interesting subject. So without further ado, I will start with a short introduction because today our time is very short. So we would like to take advantage of every minute we have. I have a small problem. Sorry. Okay, so who we actually are as a young committee, we are a group of people that like to promote high quality research and training and to organize different activities for our young ESPGHAN members. And most important, we would like to represent the interest of young ESPGHAN members within the council and the society. Some of our educational events gather the Young ESPGHAN mentorship program that is going to launch very soon. So please register for this interesting program, which is a forum to meet and receive support from more senior ESPGHAN members. And this project has been going on since 2017. And in 2025, last year, we had 12 pairs. And this mentorship program is excellent and you can gain great advice. And also there is an in-person meeting which happens during our annual conference. Regarding the 2025 Young ESPGHAN Day, we had it during our annual congress, and it was on the 14th of May this year, and we had a very interesting topic about decoding research and about systematic reviews, meta-analysis, and peer review essentials. And also we underwent the reviewers program, and these two webinars, this is the second one, were part of this reviewer program in which you gain the opportunity to learn about what the editors want and how to properly review a scientific paper. And the day, our scientific day, ended with immersive painting, and you can see here in these photos that we had a lot of fun doing the paintings. Also on Saturday, during our annual congress, we had a new session entitled Expert Dialogues Navigating Clinical Cases for Young Professionals, where you had the opportunity to share one of your most interesting but also very hard cases you had and gain some advice from professionals. Also, during our annual conference, we always have the Meet the President Day, and here you can see our former and actual president of our society. Regarding the upcoming educational events, if you want to learn more, you can go on our website and click on the courses. But just to mention some of them, we have the IBD Masterclass occurring very soon, but also in January, we have the Monothematic Conference on Biliary Atresia, and also in May, we have the Eastern European Summer School, but there are many other educational events. You can go there and click it, and the list was just recently updated. But who we actually are, who is the Young ESPGHAN Committee, we are a group of people very enthusiastic to do some new projects for the young members. We have Anne-Marie, which is the president of our Young ESPGHAN Society committee, and we have Vangelis, Petra, Francesca, and Pinar. Is myself, Mara, Jose, who is also going to moderate this webinar, Giovanna, Harwin, and Benno. So if you're not a member yet, please join us. You can benefit from great advantages from subscription to JPGN online, to access to all sorts of research grants and awards, to access to the Young ESPGHAN Committee and its outcomes, and many other special meetings and collaborations. In order to become a member, you need to fill in an application form, which you can find on the website, and you need to upload your CV and a letter of support from a full member not serving in the council. Also, you can learn more about ESPGHAN and more about Young ESPGHAN Committee on the ESPGHAN app, and also on our Young ESPGHAN social media. You can follow us on Instagram. And just before we start our today's webinar, if you have 5 minutes, not even 10, please fill in our survey. EBSGHAN is doing a campaign about how much do you know about complementary feeding. And also you can use the QR code here and try to fill in the survey, but I will also add the link in the chat. So whenever you have 5 minutes, please do fill in this survey. And also, if you would like to become even more involved and become a member of our Young ESPGHAN committee, now it's your chance. So if you want to do that, you can send your application with a short CV and a motivation letter to the office EBSGHAN emails, and please do that. The deadline is very soon on December 15. Regarding our next webinars, we will have in December the Christmas quiz, and also in January we are going to talk about how to design and interpret clinical trials in pediatric GI. And without further ado, I will let my colleague Jose introduce our speaker today, and who is going to talk about how to review a paper and what do editors really want.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mara, for the introduction and for all the our work to say to all the people. I would like to introduce Dr. Nathalie Rock. She's a pediatric gastroenterologist and a pathologist at University's Hospital in Geneva, working within the Swiss Pediatric Liver Center. She's an author of many impact publications and book chapters regarding pediatric liver disease. She's also a member of the ESPGHAN Pathology Committee. And very important, she's the member of editor of the editor in the GPGN, and she's very helpful. She likes very much to help the young ESPGHAN to learn, to divulge, and also to try to learn from them to all of because we are also in our formation. I would like to everybody to encourage to talk, also to intervene, to talk to each other, to also have a very nice conversation regarding this opportunity, because we have her, Dr. Rock. She's very nice and also going to help us to understand everything that the editors want regarding the publications. I hope everybody got the mock manuscript that we sent you, so we can start now with the session. Thank you very much, Dr. Rock, for this opportunity, for having us and having you to learn from you.
Thank you very much for this very nice introduction. I really encourage everybody in this webinar to be part of the Young ESPGHAN. It was one of my most fun time within ESPGHAN, but also not only fun, but also I learned a little bit what I am today from Young ESPGHAN and from my experience there. So please be involved in the committee or as a representative in one of the hepato or gastro committee. You will be very happy for that, and it will be for your life. So I will now begin with this session. And I think that you understand from the mail from the office, and I say hi to Kathy, which is with us, because we cannot do the webinar without them. You had received a manuscript that I'm proposing to try to explore today all together. So this is really a practice session. I've prepared with the help of Chat, my best friend, a mock manuscript, and honestly, I was amazed how much you can do something and how much you can have the impression that this paper is real. And I think that if I don't write mock manuscript, you can have the real impression that someone write this and that is a manuscript that is submitted to the GPGN. So really that's impressive. So what I'm proposing to do today is really go through this manuscript and have a look to the different phases that are useful to review a paper. And really, I will give you today how I'm doing a review of a paper. And I hope that you will have some practical tips for your next participation. So my first question I will share my screen. Would be, could you, how many of you have read the manuscript and are able to reach a decision for this manuscript? So please just raise your hand if you were able to have a look to the manuscript. So you have somewhere in the Zoom fenêtre, the Zoom window, the possibility to raise your hand. Okay, I cannot see how many hands are raised. In fact, we cannot see in the spectator people how many. So just please write yes in the chat if you have reached a decision and what should be your decision. And I will begin with the presentation, and Jose and Mara will have a look to your response, and we will have a number at the beginning. And my proposal is that we go through all the manuscript, and at the end we see if you will have still the same decision after the manuscript. So please write in the chat if you read the manuscript and what would be your decision. And so your decision should be accept the manuscript, minor revision, major revision, reject, or revision without guarantee of publication. So please do that. So today we will have a look to how to review a scientific paper. I will not go again on the purpose of peer review, on the role of the reviewer, and on how we improve the scientific quality by having this role of reviewing a paper, because Mary presented to you that last time, and you have the opportunity to see again on the recording this webinar. So we will go through this mock manuscript. So what do I do when I review a manuscript? First, I read the manuscript. I have a look to the whole manuscript. You cannot decide on a manuscript if you go directly in the details. You need to have a look to the whole manuscript. And first of all, to have a look to see if there is any red flags from the manuscript. What is the really red flags? The goal of a review is to identify the strengths and the weakness, evaluate the methods and the statistics, check for clarity, and assess the novelty. So, for example, so if you have only that in mind and you have a look to the first manuscript, just read in general, you can see if there is any red flags. Is it clear? What I'm always saying, and I think Mari told you that last time, is that if you read the manuscript and you say, okay, I don't understand anything, this is completely unclear, don't have the impression that it's because you are only a fellow or only a resident. No, you should understand any manuscript that is published. Mostly in your field. So if you don't understand, it's because the order is not clear, and that you will see if you have a first look to everybody, to the whole manuscript. So this is really how you see if there is any red flags or not. For example, in the mock manuscript, can you tell me if there is any red flags that you can see directly when you look at the manuscript? And Jose, Mara, I think that we don't have anything happening in the chat. So did you allow everybody to write in the chat?
I think so.
Yes, we let them to write them.
Yeah, but nobody is answering.
Nobody's now being active. Yes, but I could what I can tell you something I saw about these red flags, because maybe for me was like the study design maybe at the beginning was like very like we have to define very good about the study design. I think it's one of the red flags that for me it's the important thing. And also was the definition of some of the the variables or some of the actions that in there. For example, the infection. The definition is maybe quite not good. I don't know if we're going to see that after. Maybe the statistical strategy maybe is not suitable for also the method. So those were some of the red flags I saw at the reading at the first time. So that could be one of my my red flags I saw.
I can add some more if it's okay.
Yes, please.
So for me, it was the p-value because it was less than 0.05, and for 0.07, then it should be 0.05. And also, I didn't see any references in the whole manuscript, so only added at the end of the manuscript, but they weren't like after each paragraph. And there was no ethical approval of this study, and like Jose said, it was like retrospective, prospective. It was a bit weird. The tables and figures, they were like not shown.
You're already
Limitations.
going really in the details. So if I
Okay.
understand good, your red flags is really the p-value, the lack of references, and for you, Jose, is the methodological, the methods. Mainly.
Yeah, also I saw maybe some of the measurements of some of the biomarkers that could also difficult to.
So really, you just did that. I think in 10 minutes, 10 minutes, you had a look to the manuscript and you already see, okay, there is red flag. So already you know that it will not be accepted. It will be not, and yet that you will have to work on the manuscript. Okay. So what I can say exactly is that my red flags, myself, when I read it, is that there was a confusion between retrospective, prospective. I didn't see any inclusion clear criteria, or they was a little bit unclear. And like Pinar told in the chat, the eligibility criteria, and there was this p-value of 0.007, which is very strange. So what I did that, okay, I have a first impression, and no, I will, first of all, in all cases of a review, this is how I do it. I know that some people do that at the end, but I just write the introduction. Generally, a good review begins by an introduction. I have seen this paper, they are talking about that, the results are that. It's interesting, but there is limitation. So generally, I say what the author did, why it matters, and what they found, so that I have a clear impression in my mind of what is the paper and why it is interesting. And if there I cannot write that, it means that probably the manuscript should be rejected, because if you don't have an impression of what the author did and why it matters to you, and if they found something, if not, okay, you can say directly, okay, it should go to rejection. It helps you to understand better the manuscript and what you are doing, and also the editor. If you write a clear introduction of what is the interest of the manuscript, you help the editor to take the decision. For example, for this manuscript, I would have said the author analyzed a cohort of pediatric liver transplant recipients to describe infection, rejection episode, and immunobiomarker patterns over 5 years. This is relevant because long-term outcomes in pediatric transplantation remain poorly characterized, and their findings suggest variable infection burdens and inconsistent biomarker strengths, but methodological and numerical issues limit interpretability. And now I'm going to really the major and the minor concern. And so after I've did that, I go to the abstract, because I think that if your abstract is not good and it's not clear, the study will not be clear. So how do we do that? Is that we check the structure of the abstract. we look for vague claims. Generally, this is where you find vague claims, because as you have to be very short in the abstract, generally you have the impression that you can be very vague. And you have a look to the numerical accuracy in the abstract. That's very important. And you see if the abstract reflects the study, and also if there is no over-interpretation in the title, because sometimes you can see the long-term outcome is very worse after liver transplantation, and if you look at the results, there is nothing. So the title should be also checked. To answer your question, Jose, yes, I think that here in the introduction, you should really put the red flags here, so that you say, okay, my problem in this manuscript is this, and after you go to the different concerns. So I'm going back to the title and the abstract, and I propose that you do the exercise. What do you think of this abstract of the mock manuscript that I sent? And that's completely fine for those that didn't receive. You can just ask the office; they will send. I think that they can send you the manuscript. So, what did you think? You can say in the chat if you want to talk. We can open your mic.
Let's wait from. I want to tell that in the abstract, what it was like a little bit odd for me was some phrases like the were considered eligible that may sound a little bit weak regarding the methodology and not very clear that, and maybe this suggests more not eligible criteria, and the inclusion criteria may be arbitrary. So that could also was something I saw.
Yes, exactly. There is vague claim, if I can say. So here, this was okay in the manuscript, but I wanted just to tell you that all abstracts should follow the convention with background, method, results, conclusion. Here it was done. Even there was some results that are not very clear, but the structure of the abstract was respected. But here, really, we can see that there is vague statement, general description, and there is no real number in the results. And there is some elements that are mentioned in the abstract that does not appear in the results or differ numerically. So that's really a concern. And there is no p-value explained in the abstract. As finally they are making conclusion from this p-value. So you need to be very much more strict and descriptive on your abstract and not vague.
Also, I have a question. Do you also feel like it's a bit too long? The abstract?
Yeah, it's clearly too long. It's clearly too long. And one of the role is also to check if it's not too long. Generally, when you submit a paper, there is a look before going to review if the abstract and the different part of the manuscript are close to what is with, and the number of words of the manuscript is looked before by the editing team. But yes, you can have a look.
And also, do you always have to add the p-values, like in the clear data? If it's, for example, if the journal asks you to give like a very short abstract,
yeah,
and sometimes it's a bit hard to
it's not easy, and I'm happy that we can one day have a session on how to write your abstract, because it's really not easy. But as reviewer, you need to be sure that the abstract is correct. After I've gone to have a look to the abstract, I evaluate the manuscript, and I begin just my list of major and minor comments for each section: introduction, method, results, and discussion. what do we want in the major comments? We really want the methodologic flows, the statistical concern, and if we are missing essential information. For example, here we will probably go back to the red flags, because red flags generally are major concern. But you will have to describe it and to explain it in your review. In minor comments, this is more the problems of typo, formatting, if it's not very clear, if it's a little bit vague, that is more minor comments. You know, generally minor comments you can just change. You can just correct the problem. Major comment, generally it means that you need to review completely the manuscript. So if we go first to the introduction, we will, the importance is that in the introduction, you should identify the knowledge gap. What do you decide to do this study? To assess, you will have to assess the different citation and reference that are discussed in the introduction. Generally, when some people, they have a very good study, but finally, the exact same study was done 1 year ago and they don't refer to it. So you have, as a reviewer, to have a look to the literature to see if really the authors go to the different literature that was already published on the field. You have to look for a logic. Is it logic? They introduce, okay, what is known, what do we decide to do, and what are the aims of the study? And really, the hypothesis should be clearly stated. If it's not, the introduction is not correct. So we can have a look to the introduction of the mock paper that I sent you. Again, if anybody wants to talk, I think that you can just say it on the chat and we open the mic for you. Okay, I will go. Yeah, that's fine.
Raising hand.
So if we look at the introduction, what was clearly difficult for this paper is that they don't say exactly what is known and what is controversial in this field and what are the questions opened by this paper. They don't really explain their hypothesis in the introduction. They said, okay, we will integrate clinical outcomes with selectivity parameters, but there was not very clear what is exactly the objective. They said that the objective was to evaluate the relationship between immune mediator and major post-transplant clinical event, but they are not very clear of what they want to do. And I agree with you, Mara, they are missing reference. They put reference at the end of the manuscript, but not really in the manuscript. And if you look at the reference that they are using, some references are missing, and they are missing current guidelines if you look really at it. And it's very, they shift from immunology, infectiology, survival trends, and it's not very narrative. And also, it's too long. It's too blah, 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 blah for an introduction. So it's really too long for my advice. That's what I can say from the introduction. And yeah, so that was my major concern, and my minor was that there is repetitive concepts, this is more minor because they can change it easily. The paragraphs are too long and we are lacking of quantitative context. They just say, okay, this is important, this is great, we need to have a look to that, but we are really missing numbers. Now we go to the methods. And how do we assess the methods? We have a look if the design is clear, if there is any timing on the biomarker, how they are missing the data, or they are handling the missing data, and how is the rigor of the statistics. So I don't know if you can have a comment on the major, any major comment on the method.
Yeah.
Oh, Mara, you
You're
can
my
go,
best
Mara.
friends in this.
Yeah, so I think that the retrospective prospective part, which is a bit unclear, it's not unclear, but I don't know if you can actually do that, like conduct a study that is also retrospective and prospective at the same time. And also the eligibility criteria, it's not, I don't think it's like very properly selected. And regarding the data, I think I wrote something like flexible data collection. I don't know what flexible means in a study. And also like methods on the, if I were to take into consideration also the statistical analysis, is the p-value, and also the, like they mentioned that the multivariable regression analysis was initially planned, but they didn't do it. So if you don't do it, you don't write about it.
Yeah. And formal trial registration was deemed necessary at the time of the data collection. Yes, I agree with you, Binar. So there was clearly, and I agree with you, Mara, a study design confusion. You cannot do a retrospective and prospective study. That's, and they say it repeatedly, and they don't explain exactly how they do that, because yes, you can do a retrospective study and include the patient, and at type of the inclusion you have the retrospective part, and after, as soon as they are included, you go for the prospective study, but this is not clear. The inclusion exclusion criteria was unclear and not very consistent. They don't say exactly how they screen, include, exclude, how they are handling the missing data and the baseline restriction. They talk about biomarker, but the methodology of how they are doing the collection of the biomarker is not clear. What is the timing, the unit of measurement, the storage condition, the laboratory methods are not. We cannot say exactly what is happening. Yes, slightly before 2009, strange. And there is no real statistic planned. How they manage the missing value, what is the distribution, what is flexible data collection. I agree with you, Pinar, and what kind of adjustment they perform. And we are missing the ethical approval number, the consent procedure, that data security. Data security is not obligated. It's not an obligation to write that exactly in your retrospective core, but just have an ethical approval would be important. And you say also, Jose, infection episode. Yeah, what is exactly infection episode that led to treatment or admission? Yeah. It means that ChatGPT is not so good to write a manuscript, hopefully. And also minor comments on the methods. The software are just outdated. Excel 2007, SPSS 13, I think that we are at 17 or 18. So methods have probably some more limitation. And really, this is the structure is not very clear. It's confusing. There is some outcome inclusion. Sample size was shown in the middle of everything. So this is really, it's difficult to read, in fact. It was the aim of this mock manuscript, but it's difficult to read and to understand. So that's the method I use. And I just want to have a look to the statistical rigor that I told you. That's very important. And I know that most of us and most of the reviewers are not very statistician. We are clinicians, we are not the best in statistics, but our role is to say, okay, do I understand the statistic? If I don't understand, it can be just that they are doing too much to try to have some results. And that's really happening very often, that the people are just putting many statistics just to have an answer. But finally, if you do too much statistics, it means that you don't have a good results. Are they using appropriate tests? Generally, we all have a slight knowledge of what kind of statistical test we should use. Are the CI, the IC, the confidence interval included? Do they adjust for multiple testing, and do they have the puissance to do this testing? And that, as only simple clinician, if I can say, normally you should be able to answer. If you said, okay, yes to all four, and that you understand the statistic, you can say, okay, probably the statistics is good. But just you know that in most of the paper, and for example in GPGN, if you don't understand the statistic and you are not comfortable to assess the accuracy of the statistic, you can just say, okay, I don't understand the statistics. I'm asking for a specific statistical review, and we can organize that if needed. That is really important, because you don't want that to accept a paper and the conclusion of a paper just because you don't understand the statistic, and that someone is saying to you, yes, this statistic is good, this is understandable, and if I have a p-value, this is good, so just accept it. So you don't want that. Now I'm going to the results part of the manuscript. So what is your goal when you look at the results bar? You want to be sure that the results are have an internal consistency. So many times when I'm reviewing a paper, I can say, okay, the numbers in the table 1 doesn't match the numbers in the table 3. This is happening very often. And if some of you are used to write paper, at the end you are so much the nose in the paper that you just don't see this major typo in your table, and that at the end, in one table, the number of the patient doesn't reach the good number. So as a reviewer, this is your role, even if the manuscript is excellent, to have a look to the numbers to be sure of the accuracy of the number. The table should be clear. And in the results, the author should only write the results. They don't have to do any interpretation. So you should not write interestingly. You should not write, oh, it was good to see that, or it was interesting, or we were not, we didn't wanted this result. No, that's going to the discussion. That is not for the manuscript, for the result part. And also, I think that it's important to avoid to repeat the results that are in the table and in the text. If you have a table, you can just write the important result on the text, but don't say again everything that is in the table. That is not useful. So really, you are as reviewer, you also look at the consistency and the comprehensibility of the results. So if we look at the major on major concern in the results of this manuscript. I already seen that Pinar told us that the total patient number is wrong. I agree with you. Any other comment on the results?
I wanted to say that some of them, the results are over interpretation, and that's what you also said before, that we have to write very we have to be very specific, because some we can have some misinterpretations if you use, like in some of the lines in here, the patterns based on a very weak on incomplete data should give people misinterpretation, and that's not good. And also what I saw, that the outcomes are not available for the whole cohort. So for example, in the anthropometrics, the growth and weight are not for all the outcomes, so the results are also not very transparently. What Pinar said, that some tables are some are not very the correct values. And what else? What we also, a good thing is the description is good. That's important. The number of episodes, the time of distribution, and pathogens are correctly described, I think. And the tables, I think maybe some of them are very hard to read, maybe, but and also that's maybe some typos, but well, regarding the rest, I think it's that's my opinion. I don't know what
So I noticed that there is only one p-value. So basically, you can say that they did a statistical analysis only for like one of the cases, so that it's only descriptive for the rest. And for the tables, like some of them there's not shown here, not shown, and some of them put the ones that are put at the end. For example, you have the value and you have notes, and you give the interquartile range, but only for the median age, rounding intentional. So I don't know, the notes shouldn't be the notes. They don't look very, very correct.
I agree with you. Yeah. Okay. So exactly. So there is no major concern is that there is numerical inconsistency across the manuscript. Certain numbers do not match between text table and earlier description. There is no statistical analysis presented, or there was only one, like you said. There was no multivariable analysis, nothing. There was general reporting, several biomarkers fluctuated, or infection rates varied, but there was no numbers, and we just want numbers in this in the results. We don't want interpretation. We are missing denominators and time frames. We don't know exactly per patient or per year denominators. And again, there is flowchart inconsistency because inclusion and exclusion doesn't match the number in the manuscript. So this is really the major concern. Yeah, and I agree with Ahmed Ali that IQR is not matching their comments on apparent bimodal distribution, including many children as well as smaller question of adolescents. So exactly, and also with the comment that the child that were lost of follow-up or died were in the denominator for some analysis, but not for all. So now we look at the discussion. What is important in this discussion is that, okay, this is time to give your results and to interpret your results. So at the beginning of the discussion, the author should really say and start with a clear statement of the findings. Okay, we are very, what is the aim was to find this, and yes, we found this or not. And that's really an advice for all of you. When you write a discussion, you should begin with a clear statement of what you found. We also want to avoid over-interpretation. You are not here to sell your paper and to say, okay, let's. No, you did a study that are the results, and you are discussing the results, and you are just not trying to do a revolution. The discussion should be linked to the data. It's not useful if you go and if you have a discussion to the mechanism of something, it's really the data was about the treatment of a pathology. So it's not useful to write a very long discussion, and as a reviewer, you have to look to that. And it's important that the limitations are clearly stated in the discussion. That's really what I'm looking when I review the discussion part. So if we look at the discussion part, do you have any comments on the discussion?
So for me, like the first thing is the length. So the length is even shorter compared to the to the introduction, and I don't think that like the aim of the paper was actually reflected in the discussion part. So they talk a bit about the infection rate, a bit about the acute rejection rate, but they don't actually state the aim and provide like references from the literature to support their findings.
Yes.
So I think this.
Exactly. Exactly. So there was really over-interpretation of results. They extrapolate the data beyond the result supports. They said, okay, there was relationship without very statistical analysis. They speculate. They give speculation as a fact. This suggests immune dysregulation as the main driver, but they don't have any clue and any really basis on that to say that in the manuscript. They don't have any literature to support the claims. The citations are very sparse or at the end, and there is some sentence without any reference at all. And the limitation section, okay, it's long, but this is a little bit this is a little bit weak, the limitation. They write a lot of things, but this is not very clear, the exact limitation. They don't talk about the design inconsistency, the missing gas car, the lack of power in the manuscript. And also the conclusion is too strong and too long. That is minor. Some references are missing or outdated, and we will have a look to the reference after. So you also have to look at the reference in the discussion, and the language is really too narrative in this discussion. So you are not here to write a book. You are here just to write a discussion. So after I've gone to the whole manuscript, I will always have a second look to the tables and the figures to see if they are accurate, if they have a clear legend, if the axes are correct, and if they are consistent with the text. And we already discussed that it was not completely consistent between the figure and the text. So we already discussed that the table lack of a clear unit. There was error in the flow chart. The figure legend is very too short. I didn't understand what is a figure. And there is unrealistic or false value. They are talking about a negative CRP. I don't know if one of you.
Yes, I noticed it.
Yeah. So this is minor comment, but this is still comment. Generally, I have a look at the end again to the conclusion. just to be sure that the conclusion reflect the results only, that there is no new data. The data are presented in the results. The data are not presented in the discussion or in the conclusion, and it can happen that some authors had some results in the discussion or in the results, and the conclusion should not be too long and no over-interpretation. And if we look at the mock, yeah, the mock is really, the mock conclusion is very too long, in fact, and they give some results that they don't discuss exactly in the discussion. They extrapolate beyond their findings. This is really happening very often in a review, in some paper. They didn't have clear objective. They have many objectives at the beginning. So the conclusion seems a little bit disconnected to the introduction, and that's it. And I always finish by looking at the references. This will not be, you will never reject a paper because the references are not good, but this is one of your role to have a look to the reference. And like I said, to be sure that the most important papers are in the references, and also to see if they are correctly prepared and arranged. Why I'm saying that? Because some people, they are just using ChatGPT to do the reference, but ChatGPT, it can just invent some reference. So you can just say, okay, I'm putting my list of reference, and ChatGPT just give you a new list of reference with many authors, many very good papers, but in fact, not any of them exist. So you need to have a look to the reference, but just know that the team of ESPGHAN will also have a look to the reference, of course, to be sure at some point of the publication, if the paper is accepted, that the references are correct. So you don't have to have a look to the 50 references to be sure that they are all correct, but just have a look if there is any major flaw in the reference or major missing paper that should be referenced. And after that, when I've done all of that, I have a look, I redo a little bit in my mind an overall review. I look at the tone, at the ethics, and a little bit at the grammar. And like Marie told you last time, it's not a contraindication. We will not reject a paper because the grammar of the English is not good. We will just ask for improvement. If you understand what the author are saying and the paper is good and the results are interesting, we can also say accept with major revision, and the major revision will be improvement of the English. But I'm always have a look to the paper with this in mind. Is it really a good scientific tone? Do we have any ethic pitfall? And how is the grammar? And I'm always finishing my review with having a look to the overall manuscript. I have some other tips for you. You also have to have a good tone and to have some ethics. So just recall to you that in your review, you have to be neutral. You have to have a neutral tone, a very professional tone, and you cannot say the manuscript is very bad and I don't like it. No, you need to be professional. You don't have any personal comment. Some people, they just say this reviewer think that. Personally, I say hi because I'm writing the review, so I will not say the reviewer think that, but really saying very neutral and no personal comment. And please, I think that you all know that, but any manuscript that you have read should stay confidential until publication, because perhaps if you reject it, it will be published elsewhere. So you need to keep the result for yourself. You need to give a constructive feedback, even if the manuscript is rejected. Your feedback will be important for the authors to try to resubmit somewhere else. or even to do a better work for the next manuscript. So you can suggest improvement, but you don't have to write the paper in place of the author. So I've seen some review with very like, I propose that in the discussion and bam, no, that's not your role. Your role is really to give some feedback to the authors. So when I've done my 8 first steps, I'm going to my 9th. It's writing my feedback. So for example, for this paper, this is what I would have written. This is my introduction. I would say that there is significant issue that limit the scientific validity and clarity of the study. And I will go through the different things that I explained before in the mock manuscript. First of all, I will write the major comments, and after I will write the minor comments, and I will hand back a conclusion generally, but this is not an obligation. This is how I'm doing it. And I would say that the manuscript has potential, but require extensive methodological clarification, stronger statistical rigor, correction of inconsistency, and a substantial rewrite of the introduction, results, and discussion to align with the scientific standards. And at the end, I'm making my decision because as reviewer, you have to give your advice to the editor. And after the editor will decide. And sometimes we just have some reviewers that are saying accept with minor revision. And in contrast, the other one is saying rejection. And this is the role of the editor to decide at the end. But as a reviewer, you have to go for a decision. And that's sometimes the most difficult. But you should know that it's not because you say rejection that the editor will go with you. So if you are not sure, you can just say revision and say you can put a personal comment to the editor saying, okay, in fact, I'm not really sure of what you should do, but finally, I think that I would go for that. That's okay if you are not very sure of you. With time, you will be. But at the beginning, you can just say, okay, I think this is acceptance, but yeah, I'm still in the beginning, so I'm happy to get your feedback. So decision for GPGN, this is accept with minor revision, accept with major revision, reject or revision without guarantee of submission. So if we go to for this manuscript, what would be your decision? So Jose, you would accept with major revision, and the other one, and everybody can participate with what we discussed during the webinar. So I have rejection.
Yeah, for me too. I would reject it.
So the other one don't want to they can just write a little comment to the editor. Finally, how do you decide? It's based really on rigor, novelty, clarity, and impact. And in fact, for this manuscript, I will go to revise and no guarantee. Why? Because even if it's not exactly written like I want, if you have the impression that it can be interesting, that the subject, and for my side, I would say that biomarkers in liver transplantation, we are missing papers on this subject, are interesting. So I would say, yes, let's try with a good revision and see what is happening. That's what I would have said as a reviewer of this paper. I think we are a little bit, this is a chat manuscript written, so there is major errors that we don't see generally in a manuscript. That if I'm looking more to the spirit of this manuscript, I would say revise. But I would also accept that you say rejection. Yes. So thank you for your attention. This is the end of the webinar. I don't know if there was any question.
Thank you so much for this this great webinar. I would have actually a question regarding the references. So if you are a reviewer, do you actually need to check all the references? So you just assume that the authors are giving the proper references for what they state?
Generally, for GPGN, when you do the revision, GPGN proposes you to have a look to the PubMed related articles. So it's already, you can just do that. Have a look only to the list of PubMed related articles and have a look if they are in the references. I would not have a look to the whole all one by one reference, but just have a look. If sometimes the problem is that some team, they don't have open access, or they don't have access to some paper, so you can't see that if the only paper are more than 10 years old, and if the paper is, if all the paper and the references are more than 10 years old, generally it's that you are missing something. You are missing the last references. So I'm generally looking if I have references from the 5 last years. That's a good tip.
Okay, super. Thank you so much. It was really interesting. Thank you for walking us through all the steps in reviewing properly a paper. So I don't know if anyone has any other questions.
Well, I would like to put in attention that it's a very important work that all the editors do for all the manuscripts, to review in everyone and see that each of them has the important things, and that's why all the information and all the scientific information is well shared, and the important and the good information is shared, and that we have to also do a very critical lecture of all these manuscripts.
Yeah.
And thank you also very much, Dr. Rock, for sharing us and navigate us with all these this manuscript that tell us everything that also you want to the editors want to see in the reviewer. So thank you very much again for everything and for sharing us and helping us with this review session.
Thank you so much for the invitation, and I hope that the Young Reviewer program will very work, and you have all the encouragement from the GPGN editors. Thank you.
Thank you so much for accepting our invitation.
Bye-bye.
And hope to see you
Thank you.
soon
Bye-bye.
in our webinars. Bye-bye.